Hi, my name's Stephen, and we're looking at the second half of chapter 9 of Matthew. And Matthew continues looking at a series of miracles. We're looking at the last 3 in this series of 9 miracles that he stitches together in chapter 8 and 9. And today we're just going to focus on the first miracle he does, and then just some words that he says to his disciples at the end. And so the first miracle he does is actually a double miracle, actually. It's where he heals the woman with the discharge of blood, and also raises a little girl up from death, and proclaiming not just they have authority over creation and ailments and demons, but even death itself. So let me read these first few verses to you from verse 18. It says, while he was saying these things, so he was obviously teaching the crowds, behold, a ruler came in and knelt before him, saying, my daughter has just died, but come and lay your hand on her, and she will live. And Jesus rose and followed him with his disciples. And behold, a woman who had suffered from a discharge of blood for 12 years came up behind him and touched the fringe of his garment. For she said to herself, if only I touch his garment, I will be made well. Jesus turned, and seeing her, he said, take heart, daughter, your faith has made you well. And instantly the woman was made well. And when Jesus came to the ruler's house and saw the flute players and the crowd making a commotion, he said, go away, for the girl is not dead, but sleeping. And they laughed at him. But when the crowd had been put outside, he went in, took her by the hand, and the girl arose. And the report of this went through all the district. 2 very famous miracles here that Jesus did. And Matthew, he doesn't give all the details that the other Gospels does. He's much more content to get through as many miracles as would appear as he can. So he doesn't give some of the dialogue or some interaction with the crowds that the other Gospel writers does. But he gives us the essentials. He gives us enough to go on. And I just want to pick up 2 things that I've noticed from this passage as I was reading it. And that is just how it kind of shows Jesus' priorities as he lives his life on earth, and really how different they are from my own. Often I'm in a rush to do things, or I'm absorbed with the thing I'm doing, focused upon it. And Jesus just allows himself to be interrupted by people, and gives his time to them. And we're going to find out later that he tells the disciples how important compassion is. But we can see it played out right here in these verses, that this ruler comes and just gets on his knees before him. And it's while Jesus was saying these things, Jesus is teaching the crowds. He's got a bit of a following now. He's a big deal. He's important. But he's happy to stop it and go with this guy right then. So here come the disciples. Okay, I was saying some stuff, but actually there's something to be done. We can serve this man and his family. Let's go. And then he's on the way there. Literally it's a matter of life and death. This girl is dying. And Jesus delays. He stops, and this woman touches him, and he ends up speaking to her and healing her. And he pauses for that moment. I think, how often do I just rush by people and or say, let's book a time in later, or that kind of stuff, where Jesus is like, no, I'm going to stop for the person in front of me. Constantly live in a place of seeing what's the Father doing, and where can he best express love and care for other people. So there's 2 instances of that. That just kind of brought me up short. I mean, the last one was literally life or death. The girl ends up dying because Jesus delays. Often rush around in my life as if it's life or death, but it's not. And but Jesus, there's a kind of slowness and gentleness, a caringness about him. That means he's got time for people, which at least for me was convicting as I read that today. But this passage is brilliant. So we can pick up all kinds of other details from it. I think this woman, obviously, she's suffered this for 12 years, and she thinks, she's desperate, just thinking, where can I go for my healing? And she just thinks, just if I can reach out and touch Jesus. She understands the power of Jesus. We discussed some of that yesterday. There's amazing power that God has. And she knew it. She trusted it. And just reaching out and touching Jesus was enough. That's what Jesus calls us to. Just a simple faith. It says, Jesus, you are enough for my situation. Whatever that situation is, however small, however big, however impossible it may seem, Jesus is the answer. And I love this expression that Jesus uses again. I saw him using that yesterday's passage. Take heart. He said, hey, our hearts often are weak and troubled. He said, no, take heart. He's able to say that to us in any situation. Be encouraged. Take heart. I am with you. Your situation is in my hands, and I'm able to make you well. I'm able to change your situation. And obviously, we then skip down to the next few verses where Jesus arrives at the house, and there's a whole commotion going on. People are wailing. And you think, Fair enough. A little girl has died. But Jesus just clears them out. No. My work's not done here. I tell people when their days are numbered. That's what the Bible tells us. I'll tell you when they get to give up the ghost. And he gets to say, no, this girl, she's not dead. She's just sleeping. I've got something more to do. And he proves there and then he has the authority over the dead and brings this girl back from life, pulls it out of death and back into life. It says in this verse 26, and the report of this went through all the district. I think, why did Matthew include these particular miracles? I think because some of these are pretty crazy ones. I mean, the paralyzed guy from yesterday, he raised up and then and proclaimed forgiveness of sins and went to battle with the scribes over that. Hey, that got out there amongst the people. This one here about this girl coming back from the dead. Who can do that? Even other people who maybe have done amazing things hadn't done those kinds of things. The passage then goes on to talk about two blind guys and then a demon-possessed man who's unable to speak. And again, Jesus heals those people as well. And in the case with the blind men, he says to them, don't go telling anyone about me. Don't tell everyone that you've discovered the Messiah. Because he knew that people then, they were looking for a certain Messiah that would release them and save them from the captivity of the Romans at the time. And he's saying, I'm not a military Messiah. I'm the one who's bringing a change. I'm here to create a people with a spiritual life where they trust God and extend his kingdom. I don't want people getting the wrong idea that I'm some military Messiah, so keep it quiet. But they don't. They want to tell everyone far and wide about what the amazing thing he's done. And so that's the end of our 9 miracles in chapters 8 and 9. But then it goes on to say this at the end of the chapter, verse 35. And Jesus went throughout all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and healing every disease and every affliction. Every disease and every affliction. What an amazing proclamation. What an amazing thing Matthew was able to say. Can you imagine living in that time? Just totally would have transformed the culture. I think we're living in a time where it feels transformed by the imposingness of COVID, imposing on every area of life. Jesus back then was just turning everything upside down, where disease and affliction would have just dogged every area of life all the time. Just people's life was so vulnerable and not having the medical care and things we have today. And Jesus going in there and healing every affliction and every disease. What an amazing thing. And it says this about Jesus. When he saw the crowds in verse 36, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Can I get the motivation? Why did Jesus go around teaching, giving the gospel of the kingdom? Why did he go healing and dealing with every affliction? It's because he loved the people. Loved the people that he made. Loved the people that were there before him. And again, that's a wonderful thing for us to consider. That the Jesus that as believers we say we want to follow. How do we follow him? We follow him by having the same heart as he had. Having compassion on those around us. Realizing that, yes, people around us may be the subject of their own foolishness and sinfulness, but so are we. And how does God look at us? He looks upon us with compassion. Knows that we need help. What do we need? We need a good shepherd. They were like sheep without a shepherd. What do we need? We need a shepherd. We need the good shepherd. And again, just wonderful reference back to that famous kind of way that the Bible speaks about God in Psalm 23, the good shepherd, the one who leads us through dark valleys and difficulties, leads us into a spacious place, good pastures and still waters. That's the one that we need. And then it just finishes here in 37 and 38 with another kind of agrarian analogy. That he says this to his disciples: the harvest is plentiful, but the labourers are few. Therefore pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out labourers into his harvest. These people who are harassed and helpless, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. I remember J. John saying, you want to help people find their way to Jesus? They're everywhere. They really are everywhere, all around us. People who we need to have compassion on. People who need the gospel of the kingdom. People who need healing from every disease and every affliction. And so what's needed? Workers to go into that harvest, to go into that harvest field. And it says here the labourers are few. The reality is we look at the size of the church in comparison to those who don't yet know Jesus, and you suddenly realise the harvest is plentiful and really the workers are few. And even a clue here, therefore pray earnestly Interesting to say that. We're to pray earnestly for this. This is something that should capture our attention, something we should be passionate about, as well as compassion for people passionate about it. Feel some sense of urgency to pray about this and to give ourselves to this amazing labour. The great thing is that Jesus, in the next chapter, in tomorrow's passage, then does something about it. He sends those labourers out. He only has 12 with him right now, where he's going to send them out already with the authority to do some of the things he's calling us to do. But that's for tomorrow. I hope you have a blessed day, whoever you are, and speak soon.